There comes a time not marked by calendars, nor signaled by stars, when a silent shift stirs within the soul. A moment not heralded by thunder, but by stillness. And in that stillness you begin to feel it, the soft dissolving of all you thought you were, and the quiet emergence of all you have always been. It is not a becoming, it is an unveiling, a homecoming not to a place, but to presence, not to a destination, but to the divine. You were never just a wave passing briefly through time. You were always the sea itself, vast, formless, eternal, momentarily dancing in form. Yet you've been taught otherwise. You've been taught that you are separate, that you are small, that your life is a random spark flickering alone in the darkness. But that is not truth. That is only the voice of forgetting. And forgetting is not failure, it is the beginning of awakening. The drop does not cease to be the ocean because it forgets. It simply floats, unaware of its vastness. And you, dear soul, have floated long enough in forgetfulness. The time has come to remember not with your mind, but with your being. You were not born into this world as a blank slate. You arrived as a sacred echo of the infinite. The same intelligence that breathes galaxies into being whispered you into existence. Not by accident, not as an experiment, but as a divine expression. You are not here to find God. You are here to remember that you are made of the same divine fabric. The essence that moves the stars is the essence that pulses through your veins. The rhythm of the cosmos is not around you, it is within you. You are not just in the universe is in you. When Rumi said, "You are not a drop in the ocean, you are the ocean in a drop," he was not offering a metaphor. He was revealing a truth so pure, so uncontainable, that it bypasses the intellect and speaks directly to the soul. You are the ocean, the boundless field of awareness, of love, of intelligence momentarily appearing as a human form. Not to suffer, not to strive, but to remember, to awaken within the illusion. To rise like mist from a still lake and say, "I remember who I am." And who you are is not the story you've been told. You are not your wounds. You are not your triumphs. You are not your fears, nor your titles, nor your achievements. You are not even the thoughts that pass through your mind. You are the witness behind it all, the presence watching the play unfold, not the character lost within it. The ego says, "I am this body, this name, this history." The soul whispers, "I am." No adjectives, no justifications, no masks, just pure, unchanging being. And when you touch that place within, when you sit in silence long enough to hear that whisper, you begin to live not from effort, but from essence. Not from the striving of the ego, but from the stillness of the soul. You no longer chase love, you become it. You no longer search for peace, you are the space that holds all storms. You no longer fear death, for how can the ocean fear the drying of a single wave? There is nothing to prove, nothing to fix, nothing to earn. Because you, beloved, are already whole, already divine, already free. Freedom is not the absence of pain. It is the presence of truth. And the truth is this: you are the entire sky, not the passing clouds. You are the light that reveals, not the shadows that come and go. You are the silence between sounds, the space between thoughts, the love beneath all fear. When you awaken to this, the world does not change, but your seeing of it does. And that changes everything. You walk lighter, not because the path is easier, but because you are no longer carrying the burden of false identity. You speak softer, not because you are less sure, but because truth needs no defense. You love more freely, not because you are seeking, but because you are overflowing. This is not a concept to be learned. It is a presence to be lived. And it begins now, not tomorrow, not when you're healed, not when life is perfect, but now, in this breath, in this still moment. Close your eyes not to escape, but to enter the sanctuary that has always waited for you. Within you is a cathedral untouched by time, a temple built not of stone, but of stillness. And there in the center burns an eternal flame. It does not flicker. It does not fade. It simply waits for you to remember. You are not a seeker of light. You are the light through which seeking happens. You are not lost. You are the presence that notices the feeling of being lost. You are not broken. You are the vast space within which brokenness appears and dissolves. Let that in, not as an idea, but as a recognition. Let it settle into your bones. Let it echo through your breath. You were never meant to be a product of the world's expectations. You were meant to be a revelation of the infinite. And this life, it is not a test. It is not a competition. It is a dance, a sacred rhythm, a movement of form within formlessness, of time within timelessness. Dance it well, not by performing, but by presence. Speak not to impress, but to express the love that flows freely when you are no longer trying to be someone. Move not to arrive, but to awaken. And love not as a transaction, but as a natural emanation of who you are when you remember. You are the ocean in a drop, a holy fragment of the whole. And the moment you stop striving to be more, you realize you already are everything. So breathe, let go, not of your responsibilities, but of your resistance, not of your dreams, but of your doubt, not of your life, but of the false self that thinks it is separate. The path forward is not about gaining, but about shedding, not about becoming, but about being, not about improving yourself, but about revealing yourself. The self that cannot be harmed, cannot be diminished, cannot be lost because it was never born, and it will never die. It simply is, and so are you. Allow the river of truth to run freely through the cracks of your old self-concept. Allow the walls built from years of fear and pretending to soften, to fall, to dissolve. For there is nothing left to protect when you are willing to be what you already are, unarmored, unmasked, unafraid. The soul does not clench, it opens. And in this opening, miracles are not created, they are remembered. What if nothing about you needed validation? What if your worth was not something to be proven, but something to be lived? What if your very presence was a prayer answered not by words, but by existence itself? The oak does not ask to be admired in order to grow tall. It simply rises, inch by sacred inch, because that is what it was made to do. And you too were made to rise not through force, but through your own divine rhythm, not faster than others, not louder, just truer. The mind wants maps, but the soul navigates by feeling. It doesn't shout directions, it hums frequencies. You feel them in your chest when you are near something real. You feel them in your belly when life whispers, "This way, beloved." But to hear these whispers, you must quiet the noise of who you've been told to be. The world will beg you to be consistent with your past. But the truth is, you are not your past. You are the awareness in which that past unfolded. You are the space between each chapter, the blank page from which infinite stories can emerge. Freedom is not about escaping the page. It's about realizing you are the author. And when you realize this, you begin to see pain differently. Not as punishment, not as proof of failure, but as purification. Pain clears the canvas. It unroots the illusions. It invites you into deeper presence, deeper surrender, deeper truth. There is a sacred intelligence behind it all, a force not of cruelty, but of correction. A wisdom that loves you enough to strip away what you do not need, so you can remember what you always were. Like fire refining gold, your life is not here to burn you. It is here to burn away everything you are not. This is not suffering. This is sacred alchemy. You are not being broken. You are being broken open. And in that opening, grace rushes in. Not the grace you earn by being good enough, but the grace that has always circled you, waiting for a single breath of surrender, a single moment of stillness, a single step inward. So breathe. Let go of the image. Let go of the effort to hold it all together. You were not created to be a statue. You were created to be a river alive, moving, ever unfolding. And rivers do not apologize for their flow. They do not resent the rocks, they bless them for shaping the music of their current. Let your life be music. Let every wound be a note, every tear a sacred rhythm, every silence a holy pause. And from the symphony of being, may you come to see that your very existence is art. Not art to be critiqued, but art to be honored. You are the canvas and the brush, the stillness and the storm, the question and the answer, the drop and the entire ocean. And once you feel this, not understand, not analyze, but feel, you will begin to live with a reverence that needs no religion, a devotion that needs no dogma, a holiness that requires no sanctuary, because it is felt in every footstep, every gaze, every breath. This is the revolution, not out there, but in here, not loud, but luminous, not against the world, but deeply, intimately with it. For to be one with the ocean is not to leave the shore, it is to remember that the shore was never separate to begin with. You have always belonged. You are not a visitor in this life. You are the life. You are the presence through which the ocean sings, through which the wind prays, through which the stars whisper ancient lullabies of remembrance. And you, yes, you are the only one who can awaken to this truth in your own heart. No teacher can give it to you. No book can contain it. It is yours to feel, to embody, to live. So live it, not tomorrow. Not when it feels safe. Not when the world understands. Live it now. Because this moment, this sacred, ordinary, extraordinary now, is the only doorway to eternity you will ever need. And it stands open, waiting, as it always has. Do not mistake the stillness for emptiness. What feels like nothing is often the beginning of everything. It is in the silence between thoughts that the voice of the soul is most clearly heard. It speaks not in sentences, but in vibrations, not in conclusions, but in clarity. And clarity is not certainty, it is presence. It is the knowing that you are here, and that here is enough. It is the dissolving of the illusion that you must chase meaning, when meaning is simply the full embrace of what is. There is no need to rush. The sky does not hurry to become the night. It simply fades gracefully into the next expression of its being. And you too are allowed to unfold, slowly, softly, without explanation. The flower does not bloom to be seen, it blooms because it is its nature to do so. And you, sacred soul, are not here to prove anything to the world. You are here to reveal what has always been within you. Each breath you take is evidence that you are already aligned with life. You do not need to strive for connection, you are connection. The same life force that opens the petals of spring flows through your chest. The same intelligence that paints sunsets stirs behind your eyes. And so, there is nothing you need to become, only more of what you are needs to be revealed. Peel back the layers gently. You do not need to rip off the masks. They will fall when they are no longer held by fear. You do not need to attack your ego. It is not the enemy, it is the child within, trying to keep you safe with old tools. Love it, hold it, then choose differently. Choose presence, choose truth. Choose to live from the soul, not the script. And what is the soul but the space that remains when all effort ceases? The quiet awareness that watches the rise and fall of all emotion without needing to name it good or bad. The deep stillness that is not disturbed by chaos because it does not identify with form. The soul is the space through which all experiences pass, but none stick. It welcomes joy and sorrow alike, knowing that both are guests, not owners. You are that space. And the moment you begin to live from that place, the illusion of separation fades. You look into another's eyes and see not a stranger, but another drop of the same ocean. You listen not to respond, but to feel. You speak not to be heard, but to express the rhythm of truth rising from within. This is love, not the grasping kind, not the conditional kind, but the expansive kind. The love that does not say, I love you because, but simply says, I am love. You were made of this. Not metaphorically, but essentially, the very fabric of your being is woven from the same thread as every sunrise, every tide, every heartbeat of this universe. How can you doubt your worth then? How can you diminish what was born from stars and sung into form by the breath of the divine? You are not here to fit in. You are here to expand, to remember, to illuminate the corners of this world with your presence, not your performance. And so, the world does not need more polished versions of conditioned people. It needs awakened souls, present souls, souls who walk lightly, love fiercely, and speak truth gently, not to convince, not to convert, but to be, to stand like mountains quiet, unmoving, sacred, to flow like rivers unforced, unapologetic, free, to burn like stars not with noise but with light. This is your nature. And nature does not argue with itself. It simply is. The tree does not envy the wind. The moon does not compete with the Sunday all expressions of the divine, honor their own rhythm. So must you. There is no single path to walk. There is only alignment with yourself, with source, with the moment. And the moment, this eternal now, is your sanctuary. You will not find the divine in memories or projections, only in presence. Let your life become a devotion to the now. Let your breath become your prayer. Let your being be the sermon. And watch as the world responds not to your effort, but to your alignment. Because when you stop trying to force outcomes and start radiating your essence, life meets you with the same frequency. This is not magic, it is remembrance. You are not the seeker. You are the light being sought. And now, beloved soul, you begin to shine not from striving, but from surrender. You see, the world has mistaken noise for power. It shouts to be heard. It accumulates to feel valuable. It moves frantically, believing motion equals meaning. But you are here to remember a quieter truth. That power is not volume. Power is presence. And the most potent force in all creation is the one that moves without needing to be seen, the soul aligned with itself. Presence does not perform. It permeates. When you walk into a room with a heart at peace, you shift its frequency not by what you say, but by who you are. This is not charisma. This is clarity. A clarity that arises when all pretending stops and you return to the simple sacred truth, I am. That is the whole sentence. Not I am enough. Not I am worthy. Those are still comparisons, still echoes of an ego that doubts. No pure, undiluted I am. Being itself. The awareness that notices every label but wears none. The ocean that welcomes every wave without becoming any one of them. This is what the sages knew, what the mystics tasted, what Jesus meant when he said, the kingdom of God is within you, what the Tao whispers when it says, the way that can be spoken is not the eternal way. They were not speaking of dogmas, they were pointing to the eternal presence within all things, the same presence that lives and breathes and expands within you. But how easily it is forgotten, how quickly the ego, that well-meaning imposter, wraps you again in its costumes. I am my job, I am my past, I am my fears, I am my body. And yet beneath all that dressing is the naked truth, the holy presence, the eternal now. What if today you stopped trying to improve yourself and simply allowed yourself? What if healing wasn't about becoming more, but remembering you already are? True transformation doesn't come through striving, it comes through shedding. You do not ascend by adding more. You rise by releasing. Releasing the weight of expectation, the tension of pretending, the burden of trying to be what you're not. In that release, you float. Not because the water's changed, but because you no longer fight them. This is grace. Grace is not a reward for the righteous. It is the natural current of life that carries you when you stop paddling upstream. Let it carry you now. Let go of the shore you've clung to, the shore of needing to be understood, the shore of needing to control, the shore of needing to earn love. You will not drown in surrender. You will be carried home. And home is not a location. It is a realization, a return to the space within where nothing is lacking, nothing is broken, and nothing is missing. The soul does not ask for more. It asks for truth. And the truth is, you were never a drop needing to find the ocean. You are the ocean, dancing momentarily in the form of a drop. The stars do not wonder if they belong in the sky. The sun does not question if it is worthy to shine. They do not ask, am I enough? Because they know they are not separate from the source, and neither are you. It is only the veil of thought, the fog of identity, that says otherwise. But every fog lifts, every illusion eventually dissolves in the light of awareness. And now, that light is dawning in you. Not a blinding light, a gentle one. Like morning sun warming closed eyelids. Like a remembered song you haven't heard since childhood. A feeling not of newness, but of return. And as this light grows, the questions fade. Not because they are answered, but because they are no longer needed. The need to understand is replaced by the peace of experiencing. The hunger for direction is quieted by the trust in being guided. You are not navigating life alone. Life is navigating through you. You are not steering the ship, you are the sea itself, carrying all ships to their destined shores. So trust. Trust not in outcomes, but in essence. Trust not in the plan, but in the presence that is always with you, even in the unknowing, especially in the unknowing. For the unknown is not a threat, it is the womb of creation. And within it, all things are possible. Then let us move further inward, into the hush of the infinite within you, where the path forward is not drawn with lines, but with light. You see, the soul is never in a hurry. It knows that eternity is not bound by time. It has no fear of missing out, for it knows nothing can truly be missed when all things that are meant for you are carried by the same intelligence that carved the canyons, ripened the fruit, and brought you here. This breath is not late. This moment is not lacking. This version of you, exactly as you are unscripted, unguarded, is not an error to correct, but a miracle to behold. You've spent lifetimes trying to become more, never realizing the divinity of simply being. The world conditioned you to strive, to compare, to measure your worth in numbers and applause. But the soul does not thrive in measurement. It thrives in meaning. And meaning is not found in the height of your achievements, but in the depth of your awareness. Can you be aware right now of what is? Not what should be, not what was, just what is. The way the breath moves in and out of your body like a tide that has never stopped kissing the shore. The way the heartbeat drums its steady rhythm without needing permission. The way your presence, your very being, ripples silently into the world, changing everything without trying. You are not the storm. You are the sky that holds it. You are not the flicker of doubt. You are the flame that keeps burning anyway. You are not the weight you carry. You are the space that has always carried you. This is not poetry. This is not comfort. This is truth, the kind that softens the hardest places in you, not with logic, but with light. And light does not rush in. It waits for you to open. So open, not because you've figured everything out, not because life has become easy. Open because something in you remembers the sacred rhythm, the original pulse, the eternal hum of being that needs no reason to exist. You are that hum. You are that pulse. And when you live from this knowing, you don't need to find your purpose because you become the purpose. You walk through the world not as someone seeking approval, but as a silent blessing. Not needing to explain, not needing to defend, just being anchored, vast, holy. Let others race. Let others reach. You, beloved, are being called to root into presence, to root into silence, to root into the awareness that you lack nothing. For what you truly are can never be added to or taken from. It cannot be broken, lost, or diminished. It is not affected by circumstances. It is not defined by past pain. It is untouched, untainted, unshakable. And this awareness, this untouched self, has waited patiently behind every thought you've ever had. It watched as you tried to earn your way into love, not realizing you are love. It waited as you wore every mask they handed you, not realizing your naked soul was already radiant. And it wept with you, not out of sorrow, but out of recognition. Because even in your darkest moments, it saw the light you couldn't yet see. It never left you. It never judged you. It only waited for your return. And now you are returning, not to a version of yourself, but to the formless self that was never born and will never die, the self that simply is. And in this return, everything shifts. The way you see others, not as threats, but as mirrors. The way you meet challenge, not with fear, but with stillness. The way you give love, not as a transaction, but as a transmission. You begin to live without resistance. You stop trying to mold life into your shape and instead allow life to mold you into truth. This is surrender, not defeat, but union. Not collapse, but expansion. You become the ocean again. You become the wave again. And the drop disappears into its source. But it is not lost. It is fulfilled. You have traveled not across lands, but through layers. Not to gain something new, but to shed what never belonged. And now here you are at the still point, the inner hush, where truth no longer needs to be spoken, for it has been felt. There is a peace here, isn't there? Not the peace that comes from escape, but the peace that comes from embrace. It is not found in a distant paradise, but in the willingness to be fully present, fully alive, fully you. And now, you see what you always suspected beneath the noise, that you were never broken, never separate, never late, that every step, every fall, every forgetting was held in the arms of something vast and unseen and deeply loving. You are not your mistakes. You are the witness who grew from them. You are not your pain. You are the vast space in which pain was felt, honored, and finally released. You are not even your name. You are the nameless, the breath of the eternal moving through form for a moment, and then returning home. And home is not a place. It is the realization that you have never left, that what you seek has always been within the seeker, that the drop never left the ocean, it simply forgot it was water. And now that forgetting has ended, the remembering has begun. Walk from this place not with certainty, but with trust. Not with answers, but with alignment. Speak not with urgency, but with reverence. Love not with conditions, but with completeness. You are not here to chase light. You are here to be the light. Not someday. Now, not after awakening, but as awakening. Every smile you share, every silence you honor, every truth you live ripples. It touches unseen shores. It awakens something ancient in others. Not because you tried, but because you remembered. This is the quiet revolution. Not a fight, a flowering, not an effort, a return. A return to essence, a return to source, a return to the ocean of your own infinite being. So go, beloved. Go not in haste, but in wholeness. Go as the ocean goes, without apology, without force. And wherever you go, go knowing this: you are not a drop in the ocean. You are the ocean in a drop. And now you remember, and now you are free. There is a soft, ancient voice that echoes in the quiet of your soul, a voice that cannot be drowned out by the noise of the world, no matter how loud the world becomes. It whispers not in words, but in knowing. It does not plead for attention, nor does it seek to be proven. It simply is. And it has been with you since the beginning, since before your first breath, before your name was spoken, before you ever learned to question your worth. That voice, beloved, is your essence. And it has only one message to offer. You are here to remember who you truly are. Not to become, not to earn, not to strive, but to remember. For what you have forgotten is not something outside of you, waiting to be discovered like treasure buried beneath the sands of time. What you have forgotten is the sacred truth etched into the fabric of your very being, that you are divine, not in theory, not in metaphor, but in the deepest, most literal sense. You are the breath of the infinite, poured into form, moving through time only to find your way back to timelessness. The world did not teach you this. The world taught you to forget. It taught you that your value is contingent, that your worth is conditional, that who you are must be proven by what you achieve, by how you look, by how others respond to your presence. It taught you that love must be earned, that joy is the result of success, that peace is something you find when everything finally aligns. But these teachings are not truths, they are illusions passed down through generations of forgetfulness. And now, in this sacred moment, you are being called to remember that you are not your name nor your story. You are not your pain nor your past. You are not your successes nor your failures. These are garments the soul wears for a while, but they are not the soul. The soul is unclothed, unbound, untouched. It is the eternal presence behind the mask, the stillness behind the movement, the awareness behind the thought. You are not your thoughts. You are the one who notices the thoughts. You are not your emotions. You are the space in which those emotions arise and dissolve. You are not even your body, as miraculous and sacred as it is. You are the light that animates it, the silent observer that witnesses its birth, its aging, its breath, and one day, its final exhale. And in that light, there is no fear. In that light, there is no striving. In that light, there is only being. You were not born to perform. You were born to remember. The lilies of the field do not stress their blossoming. The rivers do not struggle to flow. The stars do not try to shine. They simply are, aligned with their nature, obedient to the intelligence that breathed them into being. And so are you until you were told otherwise. But nothing real can be forgotten forever. The truth, like a seed planted in the dark soil of your being, will always push toward the light, even when you cover it with fear, even when you drown it in doubt, even when you deny its presence. It will rise, quietly, gently, powerfully. It will rise, and it is rising in you now. You may feel it as restlessness, as a yearning you cannot name, as a longing that no accomplishment or affection can satisfy. You may feel it as the quiet ache at the center of your joy, or the mysterious calm in the middle of your sorrow. It is the call of the soul, the invitation to wake up, not to a new reality, but to the one that has always been. You have never been disconnected from source, only unaware. You have never been less than divine, only distracted. You have never lost your way, only walked in circles, mistaking movement for progress. And now the invitation is to be still, to stop the seeking, to cease the striving, to rest in the presence of what is already whole, the presence that you are. Because in that stillness, remembrance arises. And in remembrance, healing begins. Healing is not something you find. It is something you uncover. It is what remains when you stop identifying with the wound. It is the recognition that you were never broken, only covered in the dust of forgetfulness. The soul is unbreakable. It cannot be damaged. It can only be hidden. And so this is not the beginning of your journey. It is the ending of your amnesia, the end of the trance, the dissolving of the illusion. You are not here to become more. You are here to become less attached, less afraid, less identified with the false. And in becoming less, you become vast, like the sky shedding its clouds, like the ocean settling after the storm, like the sun emerging from behind the veil. You remember, not with your mind, but with your being, not as a concept, but as a communion. You remember the feel of oneness, the flavor of silence, the perfume of the present moment. And in that remembering, you are free. Free from the tyranny of needing to prove yourself. Free from the addiction to approval. Free from the story that says you must do more to be worthy. You are already worthy, infinitely so. Your very existence is the evidence. The universe does not create mistakes. It does not make spare parts. It does not breathe life into something without purpose. You were spoken into being by a voice that knows only love. You were carved from the same light that formed galaxies, shaped oceans, and painted the wings of butterflies. And in you, all of creation meets. You are not a part of the universe. You are the universe, experiencing itself in form. You are the wave, forgetting that it is the ocean. You are the flame, forgetting that it is the fire. You are the song, forgetting that it is the music. But forgetfulness is not failure. It is the path. The forgetting is sacred. It is what makes the remembering so powerful. It is what turns the mundane into the miraculous. It is what transforms a simple breath into a holy return. When Jesus said, "The kingdom of God is within you," he was not offering a metaphor. He was offering a map. When the Buddha pointed to the emptiness behind the self, he was not suggesting nihilism. He was revealing the doorway to truth. When Rumi wrote, "You were born with wings, why prefer to crawl through life?" he was not being poetic. He was reminding you of your nature. You have wings. They are made not of feathers, but of freedom. They're not seen with the eyes, but felt in the heart. And they lift you not into the sky, but into the now. For the now is the only place remembrance can occur. The now is the temple. The now is the altar. The now is the sacred space where eternity touches time. You cannot awaken in yesterday. You cannot awaken in tomorrow. You can only awaken here, in this breath. So breathe. Let this moment be enough. Let it be the teacher. Let it be the mirror that shows you your true face, not the face of the persona, not the mask of identity, but the face of the form. When you rest in the now, you meet yourself, not the self shaped by others, but the self shaped by the divine. And that self needs nothing. It is not improved by praise, nor diminished by criticism. It is not elevated by achievement, nor degraded by loss. It simply is. As the Tao says, the way that can be named is not the eternal way. So too, the self that can be defined is not the eternal self. You are not a definition. You are a mystery, a sacred unfolding, a living paradox, both human and holy, both matter and spirit, both here and eternal. And the more you align with that mystery, the more your life becomes a reflection of it. You begin to live not from effort, but from flow, not from force, but from faith, not from fear, but from knowing. And in that knowing, life becomes miraculous again. Because you are no longer trying to control it, you are dancing with it. You are no longer resisting what is, you are embracing it. You are no longer asking, what do I need to do to be loved? But rather, how can I be what I already am, love itself? For love is not something you give or get it, it's something you are. And when you live as love, you heal everything you touch, not by trying to heal it, but by being the presence in which healing naturally happens. There is no method more powerful than present. There is no medicine more potent than truth. And there is no truth more liberating than this. You are here to remember who you truly are. Not the version of you the world applauds. Not the version of you that wins the race. But the version of you that sits in silence and feels the heartbeat of the cosmos in your chest. That version is the real you, and it has never been lost, only waiting. And now it waits no more. And so we walk deeper now, not with footsteps, but with awareness. Each breath, an entry into a sacred remembrance that cannot be taught, only unveiled. It is not the mind that leads you here, but the surrender of needing to be led. For the soul does not travel forward, it descends inward, like water finding the lowest, most honest place to rest. And in that resting, all that is false begins to fall away, not in a blaze, but in a quiet relinquishing. The old roles, the weary narratives, the grasping for identity, all dissolving like fog before the morning Sunday. The light that dawns in you now is not new. It is not an awakening in the sense of beginning, but in the sense of unveiling. You are unveiling yourself to yourself, one tender layer at a time, and there is no rush here. The infinite does not hurry, does not operate on clocks or calendars. It pulses in rhythm with the eternal, not the urgent. Your journey is sacred not because of where it leads, but because of what it reveals along the way, that you have always been whole, even in your forgetting. Let your healing be gentle. Let it be slow, like the thawing of frost under the touch of spring. There is no need to tear away the veils with force. They fall of their own accord when the light becomes too honest to be denied. Trust this unfolding. Trust the intelligence that breathes galaxies and flowers in your very lungs. It did not make a mistake in you. You are not an error to be corrected. You are a miracle to be remembered. And in that remembering, you begin to see the world anew, not through the filters of fear, but through the lens of presence. The same world, yes, but now lit from within by the awareness that what you see is not separate from what you are. The tree is no longer just a tree. It is your stillness mirrored in form. The stranger's eyes are no longer far, and they are the reflection of your own essence gazing back. The breeze that touches your face is not an accident of nature. It is the breath of the beloved, caressing you into wakefulness. To live like this is not to escape the world, it is to sanctify it. It is to walk as one who carries the remembrance of truth through the marketplace, the hospital, the kitchen, the silence of heartbreak, and the music of laughter. You become a living prayer, not spoken, but embodied, not declared, but radiated. This is not about perfection. This is about authenticity. And authenticity is the most sacred offering you can give to life. For the world does not need more noise. It needs more stillness. It does not need more performance. It needs more presence. And presence is what you offer when you are no longer performing for approval. When you no longer need to be seen to know you are real. When you no longer need to be understood to feel understood. You begin to rest in yourself as yourself. And that rest is the foundation of true power. Not the power to dominate or convince, but the power to remain centered in a world that pulls. The power to choose stillness over reaction, compassion over control, trust over tension. This is the quiet revolution of the soul, the turning inward, the softening of resistance, the remembering of essence. And you will forget again. Of course you will. This is not a fault, it is part of the dance. The forgetting deepens the joy of remembering. Each return is richer than the last. Each moment of awakening carries the fragrance of all the times you wandered and came home. So do not curse the times you drift. Bless them. They are the currents that bring you back to shore with wiser eyes and a more open heart. The ego will not disappear in an instant. It will return with its stories, its demands, its defenses, but you will greet it differently now. You will see it not as the enemy, but as the child it always was, afraid, unsure, yearning for love in all the wrong places. And instead of banishing it, you will cradle it. You will say, it's okay, you can rest now, we are already whole. And in that act of inner compassion, the ego begins to relax. It no longer needs to be in charge. It no longer needs to guard the fortress of identity, because you are no longer guarding anything. You are open, vulnerable, real. And in that realness, the fortress becomes a temple. The walls fall, and the light gets in. This is the temple you carry with you now, the temple of the present moment, sanctified by your willingness to be, to feel, to listen, to not have all the answers, but to live the questions with grace. And as you live those questions, life answers in ways the mind could never orchestrate. Not always in words, but in synchronicities, in gentle nudges, in doors that open when you stop pushing. When you align with who you truly are, the universe no longer needs to shout at whispers, and you hear. This is the return, not to some grand revelation, but to the simplicity of what always was. You are not here to become a spiritual being. You are here to stop pretending that you are anything else. You are here to remember who you truly are. And as you remember, something shifts not just within you, but all around you. Life responds not to your effort, but to your essence. You begin to notice that doors open not when you demand them to, but when your being is aligned with their opening. The people who drift into your orbit come not because you sought them, but because your light called to them in a language that needs no words. Circumstances rearrange themselves, not because you manipulated them, but because you surrendered your grip on control and returned to the harmony of trust. This trust is not fragile. It does not falter in the face of uncertainty. It does not need the approval of logic. It is ancient. It is the trust of the stars as they move across the heavens without maps. It is the trust of the seed that lies in darkness, believing in the sun it has never seen. It is the trust of the wave, surrendering to the shore, knowing it belongs to the ocean, even in separation. And this is your trust now. Not because you understand all things, but because you finally understand that understanding is not the requirement, presence is. There is a holiness and simplicity that the mind often overlooks. It searches for fireworks, for signs in the sky, for voices from on high. But the soul speaks in the subtle, in the still, in the quiet spaces between thoughts where a deeper knowing resides. That knowing does not come as a conclusion. It arrives as a recognition. It is not shouted. It is felt. Like the way sunlight warms your skin without explanation. Like the way love wraps around your chest when words fall short. It is the knowing that says, I am already home. This home is not a place, but a presence. Not a destination, but a dimension of awareness. And you carry it with you wherever you go. In the hospital, in the heartbreak, in the laughter that erupts unexpectedly, in the silence that holds you when the world does not. This is the sacred soil of remembrance. You begin to plant your life in this soil, not in the shallow grounds of approval, but in the fertile depth of authenticity. And from here, everything begins to grow differently. You speak not to persuade, but to reveal. You listen not to respond, but to receive. You act not to prove, but to express. And in that expression, your life becomes a living scripture, each moment a verse, each breath a testament, each step a prayer. This is not metaphor. This is the reality of a life lived from soul. The soul does not care for resumes. It does not measure worth in likes or accolades. It does not ask for improvement. It asks for intimacy. Intimacy with truth. Intimacy with presence. Intimacy with the self beneath the self. And this intimacy transforms everything it touches. It transforms how you look at your reflection, not with judgment, but with reverence. It transforms how you greet your emotions, not with resistance, but with compassion. It transforms how you relate to others, not from need or fear, but from fullness. You become a sanctuary, not perfect, but pure, not unshaken, but grounded. A place where others can feel the invitation to come home to themselves simply by being in your presence. This is how the soul speaks without a voice, yet unmistakably. This is how the soul teaches without instruction, yet undeniably. This is how the soul heals, not through strategy, but through surrender. And as you continue to surrender layer after layer, you realize that your task here was never to accumulate identities, but to peel them back. Never to construct the perfect persona, but to allow the radiant essence beneath it all to shine through unfiltered. To be nothing more than what you are, and to know without doubt that this is everything. You are here to remember who you truly are. Not once, not twice, but in every breath, in every fall, in every rising. In every moment when the world forgets and you remember again, not with anger, but with grace. Not with resistance, but with a gentle smile that says, ah, yes, I wandered again, and now I return. And in that return, you come bearing gifts not for the world to admire, but for the soul to rejoice. The gift of presence, the gift of peace, the gift of a life lived not in fear of death, but in celebration of being. You are not the storm. You are the sky that holds it. You are not the identity that fears collapse. You are the awareness that watches all things rise and fall, knowing nothing is ever truly lost. The world may call this awakening. The soul calls it remembering. And you You are here for this, to remember, and in remembering, to become the living embodiment of the truth that was never missing, only veiled. Now, the veil lifts. Now, you are light. And as that light rises in you, not as a flicker, but as a steady flame, you no longer question whether you are enough. You feel it. You embody it. Not in arrogance, but in holy remembrance. For the light does not compare itself to other lights. It simply shines. The sun does not look at the stars and wonder if it is worthy to rise. It knows that its existence is the offering, and so is yours. You no longer need the world to reflect your value, because your value is no longer in question. You do not seek validation in the mirror of others' eyes. You carry your mirror within. And when you gaze into that sacred reflection, you see not perfection, but presence. Not achievement, but essence. Not the narrative you were given, but the truth that has always been yours. I am. That is the most complete sentence in the language of the soul. I am. Not I am this or I am that. Just I am. Full stop. Complete. Whole. And from that wholeness, everything changes. Because now you create not from lack, but from overflow. You love not to fill a void, but to share a fullness. You serve not to be significant, but because your significance is already settled. You no longer seek to be seen. You have already been seen by the source that made you, and that seeing is enough. That recognition, the gaze of the divine upon your being, is the only validation you ever needed. It whispered you into existence not as a mistake, not as an experiment, but as a unique and irreplaceable expression of itself. You are not a separate entity trying to get back to God. You are God in expression, temporarily clothed in form to remember its own reflection in the dance of life. Yes, there is pain, but even pain becomes sacred when held in the light of this remembrance. For pain, when honored rather than resisted, becomes a portal. It opens the heart. It deepens the presence. It softens the edges of identity until all that remains is love, not the kind you trade, but the kind you are. And so your tears too are holy. They are not signs of weakness, they are signs of surrender. They are the body's way of saying, I'm ready to let go of who I thought I needed to be, to let go of the stories that no longer serve, to let go of the resistance to what already is. You begin to bless even what once broke you, not because it was good, but because it brought you here, because it stripped away the inauthentic, because it cracked the shell of ego just enough for the light to seep in. And in that light, everything once feared is seen differently. The betrayals, the losses, the unanswered prayers. They were not punishments. They were catalysts. They were sacred winds guiding you, however roughly, back to your center. And this is where you now live. In the center, not in the extremes of fear and fantasy, but in the grounded, present truth of now. The mind may still speak, but you no longer follow every thought. The past may still echo, but you no longer mistake it for who you are. The future may still beckon, but you no longer need to rush toward it. You are here, and here is holy. Here is enough. Here is where the veil is thin, and the truth is thick, and the presence is palpable. You realize now that the path has never been linear. It has spiraled through shadows and light, through forgetting and remembering, through birth and rebirth, and everything in between. But the destination was never the point. The point was the deepening, the becoming aware of what never left you. And now you feel it, the unnameable, unshakable, unmoving truth at the center of your being. It does not speak in fear. It does not demand attention. It does not require you to earn it. It only asks that you notice who is noticing, that you become the witness rather than the storm, that you rest in the awareness rather than the reaction. And from that rest, something ancient awakens, a softness, a strength, a stillness that cannot be disturbed by noise, because it is not made of sound. It is made of source, of the breath that breathes the breath, of the silence that listens to the silence. This is who you are. This is who you have always been. Not someone striving to be spiritual, but spirit itself, remembering its own reflection in the mirror of life. So take this moment, not to change, but to return, not to achieve, but to arrive, not to strive, but to sink deeper into being, deeper into truth, deeper into the remembrance that you were never lost. You are here to remember who you truly are, and who you are is already free. So now, as the path narrows into clarity and the journey gathers into stillness, let this final turning be not an ending, but a return, a sacred re-entry into the home that has always lived within you. You have not wandered in vain. You have not wept without purpose. Every step, every sigh, every sacred ache has led you here. And here is where the forgetting ends. Because when you no longer seek to be anything other than what you are, you become a vessel for the infinite to move through, to speak through, to love through. The trees do not wonder how to grow. The moon does not ask for permission to rise. The river does not need to understand the ocean before it flows. And neither do you. The remembering is not something you perform, it is something you allow. Allow yourself to be enough. Allow yourself to be held. Allow yourself to be seen by the only eyes that matter, the eyes of your own awakened soul. And in that gaze, may every unkind word melt. May every mask fall. May every conditioned belief dissolve like mist in the morning sunday. You are not here to argue with life. You are here to merge with it, to see that what you once called me was only a temporary shape, but the essence behind it all, that stillness, that presence, that quiet hum beneath the noise that is you. That has always been you, and that you has never needed fixing. It has only waited patiently through the noise and the striving and the ache for your return. Not because it lacked, but because it loved. Because it knew that the longing in your chest was not a sign of something missing. It was the song of something holy calling you back. The voice of the soul is never gone, it is only quiet. And now, in this sacred stillness, you hear it again. Not with your ears, but with your being. It is not loud. It is not forceful. But it is unmistakable. It says, you were never lost. You were only dreaming you were something smaller. You were never broken. You were only learning how to see through love's eyes. You were never alone. You were always being carried by the breath of God. And now, beloved soul, you are no longer asleep. You are awake, not in the eyes of the world, but in the eyes of the eternal. And once you are awake, nothing can be as it was. Because you see now with the vision of truth, you touch the world with reverence. You meet each moment not with judgment, but with awe. This is what it means to remember. To wake up not as a new self, but as your original essence, unmasked, unburdened, unafraid. To live not in resistance to what is, but in communion with it. To walk through the fire of life and realize that you were the flame all along. To bless the path behind you, not because it was easy, but because it brought you here. And here is enough. So breathe, stand still. Feel the ground beneath your feet. It has always known your name. Feel the pulse in your chest. It has always whispered truth. And feel this moment, whole and vast and sacred. It has always been waiting for your full attention. You are not late. You are not wrong. You are not unfinished. You are simply here. And here is holy. You are not who the world told you to be. You are who you have always been beneath the forgetting. And now you remember. You remember not just with your thoughts, but with your being. You remember in your stillness, in your softness, in your trust. You remember in the quiet yes that rises from your soul when you no longer resist what is. You remember in the lightness of a heart no longer trying to prove itself. And that remembering, that sacred, timeless, boundless remembering is why you came. You are here to remember who you truly are. And who you truly are is the remembrance itself. The light behind the form, the silence behind the voice, the eternal presence wrapped in human breath. You are the love you thought was elsewhere. You are the peace you tried to find. You are the truth that was waiting to be seen. You are the presence that needs no story. You are the soul awake at last. And this is home, not a place, not a state, but the knowing that you were never anything less than divine. And now, you are free.